In a figment of Discord, you play as a young orphan named Eris, accompanied by Millionmiles, her cat, stuffed animal, imaginary friend thing? You quickly learn that Eris does not get along with the other orphans and instead retreats to a secret world named Abaddon from which her companion was born. Abaddon seems to be a corrupted version of the real world, turning the orphanage into a hellscape as well as the people within it. With a little coercion from Millionmiles, Eris begins to make brash decisions in this place that have dire consequences in the real world. When I first opened the game, I was met with a fully voiced cutscene. My expectations were through the roof after watching the intro, as I assumed the rest of the game would be of the same quality. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. Eris is a troubled girl dealing with very dark delusions. These intrusive thoughts are only fueled by Millionmiles, who seems to be a devil on her shoulder. The concept and setup for the game was great. Most people can relate to having dark thoughts at some point or another, and being forced to choose between acting on them or being the bigger person. This is the struggle Eris is continually placed in. Each ending for the game is dictated on whether or not she acts on her dark thoughts or makes an attempt to become a better person. In story-based games, it's important that the player is able to relate to the main character. This relatability helps form emotional connection, and it keeps people engaged. Because the concept is such a universal struggle, albeit not necessarily to the extent Eris experiences, I felt like the foundation for the game was pretty strong. Unfortunately, a strong concept doesn't always mean strong execution. The plot for the game was extremely muddled in places, breaking immersion for me entirely. Although I could vaguely understand what was going on, it never felt like there was much rhyme or reason to what I was doing. Most of the dialogue consisted of random angst between characters without much context. This led to conflicts feeling unrealistic and unimmersive. For me, a good story is able to explain itself. The plot should be pushed forward through meaningful interactions and conflict, each serving their own unique purposes. Imagine each moment of the game as a puzzle piece. Every bit of dialogue, side quest, etc. should form together to make a big picture. Unfortunately, a lot of the pieces of this game felt completely random and didn't quite fit together the way they should have. Many gaping holes were left in the story, which ended up leaving me with more questions than answers. This same principle can also be applied to most other aspects of the game. The characters felt extremely one-dimensional, leaving interactions feeling dry and uninteresting. There's nothing wrong with using tropes, but in this case it made each character predictable and, quite frankly, boring. Even the character sprites reflect the lack of individuality. An easy way to tell if you have good character design is to look at the silhouette. Here are 3 silhouettes of popular characters. Can you name them all? I'll give you a second. If you correctly identified the characters, keep in mind the details that allowed you to identify them. Now, look at the silhouette for the characters of this game. Although there are very slight differences between them all, the silhouettes are nearly identical. The lack of uniqueness causes a form of face blindness. There's nothing memorable about the character's design. Combine the bland visuals with bland personality and you get a completely uninteresting and forgettable character. If I didn't create YouTube content, I honestly might have stopped playing altogether. This wasn't the worst of the game, however. My main gripe of the game has to do with the bugs that were present, as well as the lack of instructions given. Much of the time I spent in-game was running in circles trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing. If it weren't for the walkthrough guide included in the download file, I would have never been able to complete the game. There were no hints or explanations present for half the puzzles in the game, which left me completely clueless as to what was going on. Even worse than that, the last act of the game was riddled with game-breaking bugs. Most of the bugs had to do with things not being where they were supposed to, such as character interactions from an earlier point in the game reappearing at inappropriate times in the future. However, some were much more serious. The bugs present in the game led me to being soft-locked, which left me extremely frustrated. I was attempting to 100% the game, but now I'm forced to uninstall without ever knowing the secret ending that I'd worked so hard to get. Another huge problem I had with the Figment of Discord is that there's only one save file at a time. Because I saved before I knew I'd been soft-locked, I have no way to reset my progress. Any attempt leads me to be brought back to a point in time at which I'm already stuck in the game-breaking loop. With a little more effort put into character development, as well as the removal of some serious bugs, I think a Figment of Discord could genuinely be good. For the time being, I'm gonna have to say this game is a miss. If you'd like to try out this game for yourself, the download link is going to be included in the description. Let me know what you guys think.